Everyone, this is Ao3 podfic, back with another podfic. This will be my first extra fic for spring break. Um, I did, so I will be reading God of the Conch by the Lucid Duchess. This is the Epic the Musical fic. It was either this or a different Crack Percy Jackson one I have. That will be next because I got one comment asking for that one and two asking for this one. So this was the one that I'm doing. This is the one I'm doing first. This one is kind of crack treated seriously. So it's not as funny as other crack stuff I've done, but it is still technically considered a crack fic. So let's get right into it. Alright, summary. Odysseus sighed heavily as his raft floated closer to Ithaca. He was so close. He had gone through hell to get here, and he wasn't going to let anything take him away from it. His raft rocked a little, and Odysseus picked up his knife in a flash. Was it a creature? Just water? He wasn't going to take any chances. Then a head poked out of the water a few feet away from a raft. Or, an underappreciated god chats with Odysseus about morals and death. Yeah. Odysseus sighed heavily as his raft floated closer to Ithaca. He was so close. He had gone through hell to get here, and he wasn't going to let anything take him away from it. His raft rocked a little, and Odysseus picked up his knife in a flash. Was it a creature? Just water? He wasn't going to take any chances. Then a head poked out of the water a few feet away from the raft. At first, Odysseus thought it was a siren. It had the same finned ears and sharp teeth, but he looked a bit longer, and the creature didn't seem violent. It looked curious at most. "What are you?" Odysseus asked, voice raspy from his earlier screaming. The creature swam a bit closer. "You're Odysseus, aren't you?" it asked, ignoring the earlier question. I'm not looking for trouble," the man glared. The creature shook its head. "Me either. I've seen what you're capable of." It was at the edge of the boat now. No doubt it had seen the knife Odysseus was holding, but it still edged closer. "My name is Triton." Odysseus breathed a shaky exhale. Fear glossed over him before it made room for confidence. "You're one of Poseidon's sons," he said accusingly. Triton, god of waves, simply nodded, keeping a blank expression. He had long sea-green hair and a fair face, looking quite youthful, maybe around 20, just like his own son. His son. Odysseus snapped himself out of his thoughts. "What do you want? To avenge your father?" he hissed. Very few gods were trustworthy, especially children of the god who had just tried to murder him. "No, I was just curious, I suppose. Not many mortals can go up against a god and win, you know." Triton shrugged, water rippling around him. "Father is quite mangled. I wanted to see who was able to do such a thing." Odysseus nodded and slowly put down his knife, keeping it close. "Well, you've seen me. Do you want anything else?" he asked, crossing his arms. The god shrugged again. "Not really." He dipped back onto the water, presumably done with this conversation. Odysseus remembered something, the thought slamming into his brain as he reached his hand into the water to try and grab the god. He didn't reach him, but he came back up anyway. "Yes?" Triton asked, pushing a bit of hair out of his face. Do you know anything about me? Has your father talked about me?" The fact Triton didn't seem to want any kind of revenge felt strange. Triton hummed in thought, bringing a hand to his chin before dropping it back underwater. Sometimes, I guess. I heard him say your name a few times, like when he came into the palace a few minutes ago, but that's really it." Odysseus hesitated. Did he really want to tell this random god about this? "Do you know why Poseidon hates me?" Triton blinked up at Odysseus with pitch-black eyes. "Do you?" he parroted back. The man sighed and nodded. "Yeah, I, stabbed one of his sons in the eye. He was a Cyclops. Poseidon is mad that I didn't actually kill him." Triton nodded. "Oh, that. Polyphemus?" Odysseus was a little stunned. "You know him?" Triton pushed another wet strand of hair away from his face. "Yeah, father was incredibly upset about that." He paused for a moment before tilting his head to the side with a confused look on his face. "I take it you told him your name. Is that why father knows it's you?" Odysseus sighed, thinking of his stupid mistake from over a decade ago. "Yes, I was an idiot. I really should have known better." Triton scratched his neck with sharp black nails. They looked like claws and could probably be used like claws, too. "Well, I take it you didn't know he was one of my brothers. It's not really your fault, I don't think." "No, it was," Odysseus sighed, and he spilled. He told the god about his journey, about Troy, Polyphemus, Circe, the underworld, everything. How he had to fight every step of the way to get here, how he wasn't going to let anyone take it away from him now that it was so close. "I feel so awful about my crew. All my friends died because of my actions. I have to make it home, for all of us." He breathed, holding back tears. He could cry when he was back home. The god hummed again. hummed again, and Odysseus really took in his appearance. His skin was a blue-green color, similar to his hair. He had some black patches of scales around his shoulders and neck, probably the same color as his well-known tail. His eyes were similar to that of the sirens, round and pitch black. Your crew screwed themselves over, in all honesty. Odysseus blinked a few times. Excuse me? He questioned, taking a second to rub his eyes. He didn't notice how tired he was. Ah, I'm sorry. Let me. The god dipped back under the water, emerging in seconds with a few rocks in hand. He placed them on the side of the raft. Okay, let's pretend these actions are what killed your crew, or what brought you somewhere. A rock placed on the left is something that you did, a rock placed on the right is something your crew did, he explained, crossing his arms and resting them on the edge of the raft along with the rocks. Okay, first, Polyphemus. Triton picked up the largest rock of the bunch. Some of your crew died in his cave. You stabbed out his eye, got your crew out alive, and revealed your name, he stated, looking back at Odysseus for confirmation, to which he nodded. Well, it mostly wasn't your fault, as you didn't know the Cyclops would be there, but it really wasn't the crew's fault either. The god rolled the rock around in his hand before Odysseus took it and placed it on the left. I told the Cyclops my name, and started all of this, and that was my fault. He hissed through his teeth, deep regret in his voice. If you insist, Triton shrugged, picking up another rock. Then they opened the windbag, bringing you to father. That was their fault, he said, placing the rock on the right. Odysseus shook his head. No, maybe if I... You told them what was inside and stayed away for 9 days to make sure you all could make it home alive. There was nothing else you could have done, Odysseus. The god stated firmly, swatting Odysseus' hand away from the rock. Odysseus watched as more and more rocks piled up on the crew's side. It both helped the guild and made him feel worse. Eventually, there was only 1 rock on Odysseus' side and more than 5 on the crew's. See? Not entirely your fault, Triton said, backing up slightly from the edge of the boat to give the man room to survey the layout. Odysseus stared at the rocks. It felt so strange to see his actions laid out in front of him like this, especially by a god. Yeah, the man sighed once again, his adrenaline from earlier making way for exhaustion. Gods, he was tired. Triton swam back and swept the rocks off the edge, and the two watched as they dropped into the water and sank. Is that your island? He questioned, turning to point towards Ithaca. Yes, my wife and son are home. I must return to them. Odysseus reached a longing hand to the island, his home, his kingdom, his Penelope. Triton grasped the man's outstretched hand. I will help. I cannot guide you for long, but I may be able to get you there a bit faster. The god let go of his hand and closed his eyes, and Odysseus felt his raft being moved along, the waves smoother and quicker than before. Triton swam alongside the boat. Good luck, Odysseus of Ithaca. Retake your throne. You are the king. Do not let anyone take that away from you. Odysseus nodded. Thank you, Lord Triton. Triton, the son of Poseidon, gave Odysseus a gentle smile and disappeared back under the ocean's surface, leaving Odysseus alone to coast back to his kingdom. Alright, I think, this is the shortest one I've done in a while. And, you can kind of see, I like this one. I thought, when I first read it, I thought it was entertaining and, a good concept. I also really like Triton, just as a character, whether it's, in the Percy Jackson universe or here is, the only time I've ever seen him being depicted in epic, because he isn't in epic. But, I've always loved him as, a character. Even in Greek mythology, I love Triton as a character. So, yeah. Probably Thursday is when I'll do the Percy Jackson one. Yeah, I think probably Thursday. And then on Sunday, back to normal stuff. I can't remember when spring break is supposed to end. Yeah, I can't remember when spring break is supposed to end. So, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all have a good night or day wherever you are. And I'm gonna leave to go to, a karaoke thing in, 25 minutes. So, I got something to do after this. And I hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you next time. Bye!